Hello, dear friends. A global financial crisis is no longer a conspiracy theory because even central banks are starting to talk about it. Opinion piece. Russia predicts wealth crash in 2023. Talk of a global financial crisis. Central Bank of Russia report. The economic system is not working. We mustn't let a crisis to go waste. Blame the measures implemented by governments. Global debt rises and financial solvency falls. Thousands of Afghans fleeing for their lives to Pakistan. Afghanistan's economy on the brink of collapse due to boycott. Taliban will depend on Chinese funds to survive. Afghanistan will have crisis when US assets run out. Biden orders declassification of FBI 9/11 documents. Trump to run for 2024 after Afghanistan disaster. Cryptocurrencies and commodities rise as dollar falls. Gold and silver price rise as the stock market and oil prices fall. Dogecoin 2.0 cryptocurrency value soars by more than 450%. Economic slowdown brings pessimism to European stock markets. Victims of rains in Venezuela join forces to recover their homes. America's first civilization was made up of sophisticated engineers. Huge skeleton on a Scottish beach triggers rumors about Nessie. Let's start. Russia's central bank predicts a global financial crisis in 2023. The world could face a disastrous financial crisis in 2023 on the same scale as the devastating economic crisis of 2008-2009. The financial institution has published a report containing 4 separate scenarios for the near future, 3 of which paint a grim picture. Related to this news, the famous American economist Joseph Stiglitz, who was Nobel laureate in economics in 2001, said that the economic system is not working, that now is a good time to reshape the economy, and that we should not let the crisis to go waste. He referred to the lack of resilience on the market economy under the current critical conditions. The world could face a financial disaster comparable to the 2008-2009 crisis due to the problems accumulated over the past 18 months, which are a byproduct of the measures implemented by governments to combat the crisis. According to the Central Bank of Russia, the world economy could enter a crisis scenario due to both increasing countries' overall debt and the growing number of companies with weak financial solvency. The report entitled "The Main Guidelines of the Unified State Monetary Policy for 2022 and the Period 2023 and 2024" contains 4 separate scenarios for the near future, developed by the bank. The last scenario, entitled Financial Crisis, illustrates the risks associated with the significant increase in the debt burden in the global economy due to the crisis. This scenario shows unstable dynamics in the financial markets, leading to a lack of investors' confidence. Russia's economy is suffering from stubbornly high inflation, which currently stands at 6.5% and has been blamed for significantly affecting the country's living standards ahead of the upcoming parliamentary elections. In July, Russian Central Bank Governor Elvira Nabiullina revealed that the institution would raise its rate to match its key interest rate to the annual inflation rate of 6.5% in a bid to encourage savings and discourage borrowing. The bank wants to reduce this figure to the publicly announced target of 4%. Russian news. Putin accuses leading countries of pumping money into their economies instead of helping others. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Friday that leading countries pump money into their economies in the midst of a crisis instead of helping developing nations in need of assistance. IMF transfer pushes Russia's international reserves to record highs. Russia's international reserves, the world's fourth largest, rose $20 billion or 3.4% in a week, following a transfer from the International Monetary Fund. The country's reserves reached $615.6 billion as of August 27th. Nearly 100,000 Russians claimed free land in the Far East. About 95,000 people received 1 hectare of free land under Russia's state-backed land donation program in the country's Far East. Russia to establish tax-free zone in Kuril Islands to attract investors. Russia will introduce unprecedented incentives for companies wishing to invest in the Kuril Islands, including a 10-year tax holiday. President Putin told the plenary session of the Eastern Economic Forum on Friday. Russia reveals it may recognize Taliban as Afghan authorities. Russia say officially recognized the Taliban as the authorities in Afghanistan, but will only consider the move after an inclusive government is formed. Afghanistan. Qatar expects humanitarian corridor to be opened in Kabul. Qatar expects that a humanitarian corridor can be opened at Kabul airport in the next 24 to 48 hours. Its special envoy to Afghanistan, Mutlaq al-Qahtani, said Friday upon his arrival in Afghanistan. In quotes, I expect in the next 24 to 48 hours the opening of humanitarian corridors for the entry of humanitarian aid through Kabul airport and other open airports, in addition to the freedom of movement and travel of foreigners, of Afghans who have the necessary documents to travel, al-Qahtani said. Afghanistan will fall victim to another humanitarian crisis as soon as the US assets run out. The assets abandoned in Afghanistan by the US and its allies will soon run out, and without serious help from the entire international community, a real humanitarian catastrophe awaits the country, said Professor Ravshan Nazarov, a lecturer at the Tashkent branch of the Russian Plekhanov University of Economics. Afghanistan's economy on the verge of collapse due to Taliban boycott. Afghanistan's economy, heavily dependent on foreign aid during almost 2 decades of occupation, is on the verge of collapse since the Taliban's rise to power led to the suspension of international funds, including the International Monetary Fund, which will paralyze part of the Asian country's economic achievements. Taliban will depend on Chinese funds. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid Zabihullah Mujahid said the group will depend mainly on Chinese funding after the withdrawal of foreign troops from Afghanistan and their takeover of the country. The Taliban announced that China will be their gateway to international markets along the Belt and Road. Thousands of Afghans flee to Pakistan. As the world watched the frantic evacuations from the Kabul airport, thousands of people made their way on foot to Afghanistan border with Pakistan or in whatever vehicles they could find, away from the glare of news cameras. Officially, the border is closed to all except those with valid documentation for medical reasons, work or to see relatives on both sides. However, thousands of Afghans have crossed the Spin border, crossing in Kandahar province in southeastern Afghanistan into the Pakistani city of Chaman. Taliban intensified battle to conquer Panjshir Valley. Fighting between Taliban fighters and resistance forces has intensified in the northern province of Panjshir as the Afghan group fights to take control of the country's last rebel stronghold. Afghan pilots detained in Uzbekistan. US-trained Afghan pilots and others detained at camp in Uzbekistan already feared they would be sent back to Taliban-ruled Afghanistan. So it was little comfort when an Uzbek guard joked the other day, "You can't stay here forever," in quotes. Negotiations. Open channels of communication with the Taliban. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that channels of communication with the Taliban will continue on important issues. European Union agrees to engage with Taliban. European Union foreign ministers have agreed to engage with the Taliban while avoiding formal recognition. At a meeting in Slovenia, European Union countries have also decided to reestablish themselves in Afghanistan jointly if security conditions permit. US to give each incoming Afghan evacuee up to $2,275 in aid. The State Department plans to spend up $2,275 per evacuee as the relocation effort unfolds in communities across the country over the next several months with the help of 200 private agencies. The money will be used for housing, food, other necessities, and to enroll children in school. Most fled their country with little more than the clothes on their backs. German Interior Minister says 20 dangerous Afghans entered the country among evacuees from Kabul. German Interior Minister Horst Seehofer said Friday that a total of 20 Afghans known to German intelligence agencies have entered the country among evacuees from Kabul. 100 ancient Mesopotamian artifacts seized in Norway. Police in Norway have seized nearly 100 Mesopotamian archaeological artifacts reported missing by Iraqi authorities from a collector. The seizure involves what are presumed to be cuneiform tablets and other archaeological objects from Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, considered important to the world's historical cultural heritage. Economy. Disappointing August jobs report. The disappointing August jobs report has economists scrambling for answers. With only 235,000 jobs added versus the projected 750,000, the economic recovery has stalled. Oil tumbles. Oil prices fell Friday after a weaker than expected jobs report indicated a patchy economy recovery that could mean slower fuel demand. Stocks fall. The S&P 500 and Dow Jones indexes fell Friday as slowing job growth raised doubts about the pace of the economic recovery, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq rose as the report also calmed fears of a tapering of monetary policy. The slowdown in the economy brings pessimism back to the European stock markets. The significantly worse than expected US employment data and the activity indexes, which confirm the slowdown in the economy, have brought pessimism back to investors, resulting in widespread declines in the European stock markets. Big tech gains on Wall Street. Wall Street tech sector had its biggest winning week since mid-July after its small jobs report on Friday bolstered bets that the stimulus money will continue to flow into the economy. Gold price rises. Gold markets rallied significantly over the course of the Friday's trading session to look toward the $1,835 level per ounce. Gold rises for the week to its highest level in 11 weeks, after pessimistic August jobs data. Gold futures are up on Friday, with a smaller than expected increase in new jobs last month, causing prices for the precious metal to boost again for the week and mark their highest finish since mid-June. Silver rallies. The silver market railed significantly during Friday's trading session, as the jobs number came in much weaker than expected. The dollar took a hit following that news, as the Federal Reserve is nowhere near being able to tighten monetary policy. New high for aluminium prices. Aluminium prices on the London Metal Exchange and Shanghai Future Exchanges hit new decade highs after the Chinese government pledged more support to keep the economy from slumping. The value of Dogecoin 2.0 cryptocurrency soars more than 450%. The Dogecoin Foundation has assured that this project has no connection to its own and has urged the creators of the project to choose a new name. The value of Dogecoin 2.0 cryptocurrency has soared 457.6% in the last 24 hours, trading the unit at $0.1599, its all-time high. Bitcoin trades above $50,000 as cryptocurrencies gain steam. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and cryptocurrency-related stocks are exhibiting new momentum even as the regulatory outlook darkens. Politics. Biden orders declassification of 9/11 documents. President Biden ordered the Justice Department and other agencies to begin a 6-month process to declassify documents related to FBI investigations into the September 11, 2001 attacks. Trump to run in 2024 after Afghanistan disaster. Former Donald Trump advisor Jason Miller and Republican Jim Jordan from Ohio revealed after recent conversations with the former president that he's preparing a 2024 run. Ex-Cardinal McCarrick pleads not guilty to sexually abusing teen. Former Roman Catholic Cardinal Theodore McCarrick pleaded not guilty Friday to charges that he sexually abused a 16-year-old boy in 1974, a case that makes him the highest-ranking Catholic official in history to be prosecuted for sexually abusing a minor. America. Native Americans lose lithium mine lawsuit. A federal judge ruled Friday that Lithium Americas Corp can conduct excavation work at its Thacker Pass lithium mine site in Nevada, denying a request by Native Americans who said the dig would desecrate an area they believe contains ancestral bones and artifacts. Mexico faces migration crisis on northern and southern borders. Mexico has faced migration pressures from the north, south, and within its own borders in recent weeks, putting it in an increasingly difficult position. Thousands of migrants continue to cross its southern border. The US sent thousands more from the north, and there is the renewed prospect that the US will make asylum seekers wait in Mexico for extended periods. Central American migrants attacked as they see work in Mexico without trying to reach the US. Hundreds of migrants who left in at least 30 groups from Mexican city of Tapachula this week were attacked by authorities as they sought to move away from the border with Guatemala to find work and decent housing in Mexico without going to the US. Victims of heavy rains in Venezuela join forces to recover their homes. Bricklayers, electricians, master builders, cooks all joined forces in the two sectors most affected by the rains in this small municipality in the state of Mérida, in western Venezuela, to recover the area hit by heavy rains on August 24th. Guatemala launches investigation into bribery allegations linked to president. Prosecutors in Guatemala have launched an investigation into allegations that Russian businessmen paid a bribe to President Alejandro Yamatei to obtain a dock at one of the country's main ports, the Attorney General's office said Friday. Bolsonaro threatens to Supreme Court justices. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro assured Friday that the demonstrations of September 7th, Independence Day, will serve as an ultimatum from one or two Supreme Court justices. On other occasions, he has already shown his displeasure with Justices Luis Roberto Barroso and Alexandre de Moraes, whom he accuses of trying to give another direction to the country. Barroso is the president of the Superior Electoral Court and refused to reform the electronic voting system, whose reliability Bolsonaro questions. America's first civilization found to be made up of sophisticated engineers. For many years, it was believed that the Native Americans who resided more than 3 millennia ago in what is now northern Louisiana were nothing more than hunters and gatherers. A new study sheds light on the activities of what is believed to be the first civilization on the American continent. Miscellany. Jewish New Year. The Jewish New Year number 5782 begins at sunset of September 6th and ends 2 days later. More than 150,000 Israelis will welcome it with serious economic hardship. And Rosh Hashanah is an annual holiday celebrated by Jews around the world, and observers attend synagogue prayer services and listen to the sounding of the shofar, ram's horn, that heralds the arrival of the new year and calls for meditation and self-analysis. Families and friends gather for festive meals that include a variety of sweet foods such as apples and honey, pomegranate, raisin jelly, and honey cake, among others, symbolizing a sweet new year to come. New Zealand police kill extremists who stabbed 6 at supermarket. New Zealand police on Friday shot and killed a knife-wielding extremist known to authorities. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said after he stabbed and wounded at least 6 people at a supermarket. New wave of repression in South Sudan. Amnesty International has warned that South Sudan is witnessing a new wave of repression, with many activists now in hiding after a series of arrests in recent weeks. Huge mysterious skeleton on Scottish beach triggers Nessie rumors. Loch Ness Monster enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists may want to avert their gaze now, as a giant rotting corpse has washed ashore on a beach in Aberdeen, Scotland, fueling widespread rumours of Nessie's disappearance. Pet theft to be made a criminal offence. The UK government plans to make pet theft a criminal offence, a move that will help counter a worrying rise in pet theft during the downturn. Thus, stolen animals will no longer be considered a loss of property under the new legislation, a change that seeks to recognize the emotional stress caused to owners by losing a pet. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.